man who's affected by mental health for him to talk about his mental health.
We can do a full program. No problem.
God be alive.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Community Talk Show. You're listening to host Muhammad Amin, and today I have a guest discussing a very important topic in the community. As most of you know, this week we had Mental Health Day, World Mental Health Day in the world. UK embraced it, employers embraced it, and to be honest with you, mental health is an issue that we all should be mindful of, not just for one day, but 365 days of the year. And the reason for that is it's very important. We all take care of our mental health. As you know, we're coming out of COVID-19. We're going to some type of normality with hybrid working from home. New issues have arisen, new illnesses have arisen, but half of those issues are mental health related. And this evening, I've got my guest here, my learned friend, Ibrar Uddin from Alafia Mental Health Wellbeing Services, and we're just going to have a discussion about mental health. And all I can say to you this moment in time is please listen into the discussion. If you can relate to any of the issues concerned, I always ask you to seek appropriate professional help from your doctor, your medical professional. And also the whole idea is to bring this issue at the forefront of the community and not treat it like a taboo subject and not treat it like an issue that it doesn't exist or it's not affected by you. So as always, you can listen to me on www.apkivaz.co.uk. You can also listen to me on the Radio Garden app and Hindi radio app. Without further ado, we'll introduce you to my guest and we'll have our discussion. Ibrar, assalamu alaikum, welcome to my Community Talk Show. It's lovely to see you in front of a mic today. MashaAllah, I've known you for a couple of years now. Thank you very much for coming along today and discussing this subject. When we say mental health, give me a definition. What am I talking about?
Okay, mental health is about our emotional, psychological well-being. It includes how we interact with people, how we think, and how we are able to make decisions. So that's what mental health is.
You know, in our Asian community, if I have anxiety, depression, I'm not making appropriate, normal decisions, we have a stigma attached to it. Within the Asian community, is it right that we still do not see mental health as an issue?
Can I just first pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all from mental illness, and that those who are suffering with mental illness, may Allah give them shafa from ghaib. Mental illness within the South Asian, well, most communities, it's often brushed under the carpet.
Yeah.
Having worked in the sort of the inner city areas in Birmingham and worked mainly with our own communities, the Muslim communities, it's a subject that's not often talked about. If somebody's suffering from mental ill health, the family members say you're all right, or they'll start using taboo words which are not appropriate. Often they'll access spiritual intervention to try and get some support, thinking that there's some spiritual intervention involved, or issues around jinns, etc. We don't recognize that sometimes there needs to be some medical support, some medical intervention. However, what I will say that there are issues. A lot of people are suffering from mental ill health after the COVID-19 pandemic. What we do know that, they say mental health is going to be the next pandemic. Now, I work in the community with many different groups in many different settings. Currently, I'm working with a lot of supported accommodations, providing support to the residents, and also domestic abuse units where people are suffering from mental ill health. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. This subject is not often talked about. We need to come out in the open. We need to destigmatize mental ill health and normalize it so that people don't feel shy or feel that it's got a taboo attached to it, and access services or support at initial stages rather than leaving it too late. So we always encourage, and this is what Alafia is doing, is working with local communities, trying to engage people and get people to understand about mental health, what mental health is, what bad mental health is, and what good mental health is. And the term we try to often use is mental well-being, because as soon as people hear mental health, it gives that negative kind of feeling, so people don't want to touch and talk about it. If I just quickly add on to that, just like we've got physical ill health, similarly, we also have the health of the mind that we need to take care of.
That's right. Baisab, just looking at a comment Guli Khan Karli have made, he said, well done to Ibrar, highlighting the mental health awareness issue in the community. And I welcome all of my listeners. We use our Facebook Live page for advertising purposes and to promote the program. But please make some comments and I'll read them out to you. As always, those of you who are listening into our programs, it's www.aapkeawaaz.co.uk. You can listen to us on the Radio Garden app or the Hindi Radio app. And this evening, we're going out live from our studios here in Birmingham. One of the things with mental health is, obviously, I can't talk about other people. I talk about myself. I suffered from it. And the only solution was get some medical guidance and medication from my doctor. And very early, I realized, hang on a minute, I'm going to be on these for the rest of my life. I can't be doing this. I need to get out of it. And thanks to the support that I had from my network, whether it was my family network, my home network, I quickly got out of that, right? And now, mashallah, I'm constantly guiding people and telling people that because I went down that route and my system was going down that route and I was going down to more or less a shutdown, and I got out of it quickly. But some people, they don't have that support mechanism. Some people, bless them, they are so deep into it, they cannot identify it. So what are some of these symptoms of mental health?
Well, obviously there's different conditions, when it comes to mental ill health. And you've talked about how you've made a recovery. And, I'm a firm believer in hope. And, especially a believer in faith. I always say to people, if you believe in God and you have faith, it gives you hope. God gives you hope, and hope gives you that strength to recovery. It's a start to recovery.
And to be honest with you, that was my route to recovery. Whilst the medication knocked me out and what have you, and recharged my batteries, my recovery was through my faith and actions, which I was responsible for. But I quite easily understand how things could have gone the other way, but I can only talk about that from experience. And this is why it's so important to bring in mental well-being as part of your daily life. Give yourself time to wind down. And what would you say? We lead a busy life. Everybody's in the rat race. Whether we're working or services to the community, mashallah, all of us are really active. And even here at the radio station, we're all volunteers. So what would be a few guidance and tips to recharge and reinvigorate somebody's mental well-being?
Okay, well, I haven't finished the answer to your
sorry, boy.
Which is, what are some of the signs and symptoms? Well, when it comes to depression, you find people, getting very reserved, not engaging as much, trying to keep themselves to themselves, often, not looking after their their self-care. There's not much self-care involved. Not, if it's a man, they're probably not trimming their beard or not shaving or very unkempt. Those are some of the signs, and kind of keeping away from their social networks. And if they are with their social network, they're not engaging in conversations as much. And those are some of the signs and symptoms. And, I've come across people who get up in the morning, make a coffee, and they just sit there and watch TV all day. They do not want to do anything. So those are some of the signs and symptoms. So if you find a family member or a friend that you feel who's not so engaging for some reason, and it follows on for a few weeks, then, you need to check up on them. Make that call, say hello, that, to check, see how they are. And, we shouldn't shy away from mental ill health. As I said, just like physical ill health, this is a health of the mind. So it's okay not to be okay. The other question in terms of, we're all busy, how can we sort of manage our mental health much better? I would say, it's depends what makes you happy. It's about identifying your own coping strategy or coping mechanism. For myself, I'll go to the mosque, and I'll also meet with my friends often. We go out for a bite to eat. Similarly, other people would have different ways of, finding their coping mechanism or coping strategies. If you do not know, you can sit down with a therapist and learn and, identify them, write them down, devise a plan, how you can work towards that plan. For some people, jogging. I see a lot of people jogging. I jog myself. Guli Khan, who you mentioned, he's a great runner himself. And for some people, this is antidepressant. Exercise. As you know, a lot of people are involved, young men and young women in sports nowadays. And this is really good. But I think one of the main things I do want to mention, when it comes to mental ill health issue within our communities, sometimes people do not know the pathway to access services. Now, I'm a firm believer, and I don't support medical intervention at an earlier stage as much. I prefer that if there's a lot of or good family care support, social network support, that individual can be helped and saved from medication unless they've come to a clinical stage. So what Alafia does, we try to concentrate more on non-clinical intervention, talking therapy. Talking helps. A problem shared is a problem aired. That's the way I see things.
Like you said, a problem shared is a problem aired. But you talk about sharing the problem. I may not want to talk with my immediate family, but if I talk to my friend, sometimes your colleagues at work or your friends outside work, because you spend so much time with them, they are effectively your family and you trust them, and there are certain things that you may just use them as a sounding board. And home life doesn't need to know that you are suffering for it if you don't want to tell them that.
One of the things we do have now in Birmingham, which started around COVID, and I actually worked on this, and alhamdulillah, when they say saving a life is like saving a human nation. I had a call from a young lady whilst I was on helpline, and I'm going to give the details for the helpline. It's a Birmingham helpline, crisis helpline, that she emailed back to my organization saying that if it wasn't for Ibrar last year, I would not be here. I remember her calling, and she wanted to speak to a female member of staff, but we had none available. And I spoke to her. She was actually at the spot where she wanted to take her own life. So I talked her out of it, and alhamdulillah, she's living. So the question you were asking, sorry, what was that?
Basically, if I don't want to talk to my family members, sometimes is it not advisable to discuss it with my close friends?
We advise that you find somebody. We always have that someone who we can actually confide in. Your own confidant, someone you can trust, who can give you really good advice. But in Birmingham, as I said, during COVID-19, the Birmingham helpline, which is the number is 0121 262 3555. It's a 24/7 mental health crisis helpline. Anybody can ring this number, and there are advisors sitting on the other side who will talk to you. You can talk about your cat, whatever is affecting you, and you probably had a bad day at work.
So repeat the number again.
It's 0121 262 3555.
And who's this service managed?
Well, it's funded by the Mental Health Commissioning team, but is hosted by Birmingham Mind and Creative Support.
Mind. Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of people ring this number. Okay. Many people from the South Asian community used to ring this number whilst I was there myself.
That's good.
And I think what we want is we need people to talk about mental health. And here I want to mention something important is that our masajids, the local mosques, places of worships, need to be more active. The Friday sermon needs to include important issues such as mental health and well-being during that time.
I've said this on a number of occasions about issues in the community, and you're not the first of one of my guests who've made this comment. That slot on a Friday afternoon, that 15 minutes, half an hour slot is very, very important. And the Imam always says what the Quran reference says, what the Hadith reference says, what the prophets did, or what have you. But they should link that back into everyday life that's happening now in our communities. And this is where I think, like, for example, let me just touch one of the subjects, cleanliness. Cleanliness is an important part of our faith. Right, so if I've got to pray 5 times a day, cleanliness and types of clothes I wear, all that's important. But cleanliness in my environment is important. And during COVID-19, you mentioned earlier on, there's a group of activists. We got together and we said, right, enough is enough. We're going to clean our streets. So we set up a litter picking crew in Saltley, and it was a little joke at the time because we were all locked down. We couldn't do anything, and I put my fluorescent jacket on. And I said, right, I'm going to clean my road. And people came up to me and said, do you get paid by the council? I said, no, man, I don't get paid. I said, look, no, you wouldn't do it for nothing. I said, you know what? Whatever I get paid, I'll give it to you if you join me, right? Couldn't be any fairer than that. And gradually, the team started to get bigger, and we were about 8, 10 of us. And within an hour on a Sunday afternoon, we'd pick up 10 bags, 10 bin liner bags full. And yet, we went back through the system to the statutory services, and we asked the statutory service to say we need a weekly clean, and mashallah, it's happening now. But we did it just to get out of the house during COVID-19. And then as part of that, we educated people when to put the bins out. And the classic examples were, in Alam Rock, if the rubbish collection was, say, on a Thursday, they'll put the bags out on the Friday. Well, wait a minute, that bag's there for the next week. And that creates the problem.
Just to add on to that, and in terms of COVID-19 and mental health perspective, this is where when we started Alafia Mental Health and Wellbeing Services, is that we found people were struggling to grieve. Now, you know that we had a high number of deaths within the communities all over. In particular, the South Asian community, we traditionally tend to hug each other, cry with each other.
It's part of our culture.
We couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So we're finding a lot of people are still struggling to come to terms of the loss they've had. That grieving process, they haven't had that natural grieving process.
Islam teaches us to say, if I say salam to you, that's it. I don't have to shake your hands. I don't have to hug you. But,
of course.
But that's the religion. But then our culture is that it's become the accepted norm that I shake your hands and hug you. But that's the culture we grew up in.
Yeah.
I got one of my regular viewers, Assalamu alaikum Javed Akhtar. Thank you very much for listening in to my program. He's got a question. How do we tackle mental health and well-being in our community when there is a stigma attached and our community denies that it exists in the first place? This is some of the bits we covered earlier on.
Okay, well, very good question. I will touch on the Pashtun community here in particular.
Maaf kariye bhai sahab. I'll cover his next point, and then it'll make sense when you answer it all together. Javed said there's a lot of pressure in the workplace as a result of the austerity measures imposed for the last 12 years, resulting in less employees, meaning the work is still there, but is reallocated to the remaining team members. You are being asked to do more for less resources, and more work is available, and obviously less employees. Now, I know Javed very well. He works for the local authority. So basically what he's trying to say is, we've got this stigma in the community about mental health issues. How do we tackle that? And secondly, what he's saying is, you don't realise that what local authority is doing for employees, and it may be certain departments, but what he's saying is due to the local authority applying austerity measures, so there are less workers but more work, but the work has to be done. That puts on extra pressure.
In response to the first part of the question that Javed has is, I did mention I was going to mention about the Pashtun
you could say Pashto community.
Well, we're all, you know, Pakistani,
Yeah, but
Muslim
to be honest with
community.
you, whether you look at Pashto, Pakistani, Kashmiri, we're all the same.
The reason I'm going to mention the Pashtun
Ji.
community because I belong to it.
Mashallah.
My community does not recognize mental ill health,
Yeah.
and I can assure you that
Doesn't surprise me.
Today, I was dealing with a Pashtun young lady from our Pashtun community, from our village, in fact. You know, if those who are Pashtuns listening to this from our village, and you guys will probably know the family as well, but obviously we're not going to go into that.
No.
But just to say that mental health is real and it can affect anyone at any point in their lifetime.
Yeah.
Something could just happen and that will be it. Things could change. So mental health is real. It's all our business. We need to get involved. The way to tackle it is to talk about it more, to advertise it more. And now that we hear, you know, with your radio station,
thank you for coming up.
This is an important subject, something that's I'm passionate about. We as an organization, we're going to be doing a lot of community engagement work. You will see us on Alam Rock Road. We're going to try and, you know, obviously raise more funds. So we need some more resources because we need to build capacity for this small organization. And we're going to talk about it from a cultural and religious perspective. The main thing, the point I want to send out to everybody is that people who are suffering from mental ill health, please do not disregard them. These are human beings.
Yeah.
These are our brothers and sisters. All they want is somebody to show that human compassion, that bit of love, listening ear, and to understand them. Give them a bit of time to talk about it.
You know, I've got a habit, and it's a habit that's a good habit. Whether you're related to me or not, I always greet people as hello brother, hello sister, hello uncle, hello auntie, right? And it doesn't cost me to say that. You know, one of my lady neighbours from up the road is from the Caribbean community, and when I see her, I say hello auntie, or when I see her husband, say hello uncle. You know, it doesn't cost me anything.
No.
You know, and this is where people don't understand that maybe because I greeted her, and I always get a lovely, pleasant greeting back, but maybe I greeted her. Maybe that was the first greeting she had all day, and that has brought some happiness in her life, and I'm happy.
And saying that, one of the things, as you know, we're all becoming very digitalized. Even, you know, everything's becoming digital now.
Yeah.
You know that most banks are closing down.
That's right.
I've campaigned about this. Whenever I go to a local bank, I have a moan. Traditionally, a lot of elderly people prefer to go into a bank, deposit their money and cash them out and say hello to the cashier. And that's probably the only hello conversation they get for the day. And if they close in the bank.
Yes, there was some science behind it, that it's part of this psychology and social science. There's something I read years ago. The fact that a lot of people, even they had cards to use the cash point machines or whatever, they physically wanted to go in because they know the cashier and they just want to say hello to them.
Of course.
And they just wanted to create conversation. So, you know, like years ago, here in the community in Birmingham, you know, you walk down the road to the bakers, to the butchers, to the hairdressers, to the barbers, to the post office. And obviously you went to do your business, whatever you, but you know, you don't just go into the barbers and say, right, you know, I want short back and sides, please. Job done, 10 minutes, get out. There is a conversation that you're creating, you know, and that's you're letting off some steam that you can't talk to anybody else.
The barber chairs is the most important chair. I mean, we ran a program where we called the Barbershop Magazine, and I'm hoping to do some similar things. In fact, Alafia is hoping to open a barbershop where people can actually come in, get a haircut, and have a chat and have a coffee as well. At the same time, get it off their chest. In particular, the younger generation, as you know, with all the main issues that are around in terms of drugs, etc., is going to have an impact on their mental well-being. But again, we have issues within the elderly community, middle-aged people, and the younger generation. And mental health is something that need to be talked about a bit more. And then one of the main things is that people do not know how to access services, in particular women who've come from abroad.
Yeah.
As I said, I work with the supported accommodations. We have some very good organizations working in Birmingham, providing accommodation such as Midlands Living, Safe Homes, Step Next, and I do a lot of work with the residents there. And believe it or not, a lot of young Muslim Pakistani women who've suffered domestic violence, the impact and the trauma due to what's happened to them on their mental well-being, they need a lot of
But that's in our Asian community, isn't that a stigma that will stay with them for the rest of their lives?
Of course.
That's something we should avoid. But what can we as a community do to try to put people away from that stigma? The fact that we're talking about this type of topic today is probably an achievement, because
this is
a lot of the Asian channels, they won't even discuss this.
This is a start, and I think we need to have more support groups. I'm hoping to start a mental health support group for women and a mental health support group for men, where people who are affected by mental ill health, they can come and talk about their experiences. These are people who are expert by experience, and get these people to be more involved in the work that we're doing. But it's all about raising awareness, talking about it openly, having that conversation, normalizing mental ill health. And I keep saying that just like physical ill health, this is a health of the mind. There's nothing wrong with it.
And Baisab, mashallah, I've got all the technology in the world to do my day job at home, no issue whatsoever. When it works, okay. If the internet service provider pulls a plug out, then I've had it. But that's the way life is at the moment, okay? But many a times I would swing around in my chair and ask my colleague a question. I miss those days. I miss those conversations with my colleagues who worked in the organisation at the coffee machine, or as you know me for a couple of years, I don't stop talking. But if I just say hello to somebody, or if I talk to somebody, if somebody asks me a question, I always make sure that I give them the factual answer straight away of our view. But more importantly, that may be a problem that's been on their mind, and the fact that I made their life easy for that day, for me, it's not a problem. But with hybrid working and working from home, that's made matters worse now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I mean, people are not engaging as much with other people, and this is what we need, people to interact more. This is why I said earlier, you need to find your own coping mechanism, your own coping strategy. So be it gardening, be it football, be it meeting with your friends in a restaurant, going for a walk, going for a jog together in a group. And I think we need to create jogging group, just like you created litter group. Why don't local communities create a jogging group?
But Baisal, what we've done is we've done a litter picking group
or a walking group,
and the age range was from an 18-year-old to 60-year-old, so it's a good age range. We've also created a little walking group that we go on a Sunday morning. We're working on a Sunday morning swim group, but that's hard work, because you know what it's like getting up on a Sunday morning.
We don't have a swimming bath anymore.
But mashallah, we don't have a swimming bath anymore. But what I try and do is I can take 4 people in my car, so we go to the likes of Stetchford or Erdington, so they've got state-of-the-art facilities. But unfortunately, we haven't got the swimming pool in Small Heath. That was a decent. Even in Saltley, we haven't got swimming because it was knocked down. The local authority kindly doing anything about it by replacing it. So what I've tried to do is use transport to go 3-4 miles away, and if we can change somebody's well-being just by doing that, that's not a problem.
Of course, I mean, it's sadaqah jariyah, this is charity work, helping somebody, listening to somebody. As I mentioned, it's about providing some space for someone to talk to air their issues. And, I keep saying that do not suffer in silence. If you keep it to yourself, if you're suffering from depression, something's on your mind, then, a problem shared is a problem. Talk to someone about it, be it your friend, your colleague, someone you can trust, and they will give you some support and advice to access further support.
And, there's another thought we had, was that the fact that we know the buildings the mosques. We know how big they are. We know. But if there was a room within that mosque available within certain times that certain individuals can go in there, and it is similar to like the Catholic churches, where if somebody wants to confess about certain things or whatever, they talk to the Catholic priest or whatever. Nothing on those lines, but you know, the fact that there are people sitting there, and even if it's a tea and coffee drop-in, you know, our mosques should be the community hub, but they're not interested in.
To be honest, Greenland Mosque is doing some good work. They've got their own councillor now. Similarly, Gungor Sharif is doing something similar. So Massage is now gearing up to slowly meet the needs of our local communities, trying to work with young people and also respond to the needs of the local communities. They are trying. Yes, it would be nice to have some sort of a therapy room. Yeah. Someone's going to go and have a chat with the imam. You know, we are looking at training the local imams to know a little bit more about mental ill health, so they can touch it from an Islamic perspective during the Jummah khutbah.
And also, you see, the fact we're discussing, we're not discussing just the Muslim community. You know, our programs go out to all communities, and all communities are listening in and they're listening to programs. You know, I can't see a reason why one of my white Caucasian Catholic Christian friends, why can't they come in onto that walk-in in a mosque?
Why not? Of course, there should be.
You know, I can't see a reason, and that way, you know, we open up, and it's like some of the Sikh Gurdwaras and what have you. They have a longer 24/7. They never ask anybody what colour, what faith, what creed you are. Food is served 24/7, and this is where, you know, for us, our faith tells us that we should embrace everybody, and then we should allow everybody to come in, and everybody should come in such open arms, shouldn't they?
Of course, it would be a great idea. We need services like this.
Baisab, we're just going to wrap up our program, and no doubt we can carry on for another half hour. But if we just wrap up today, and we will carry on another occasion, and then we will cover it in depth next time.
Inshallah,
so just a quick review of what we discussed. There is a Birmingham Crisis Helpline held by Birmingham Mind, and the 24-hour service. It's available free of charge to anybody, and you can talk to the call handlers about anything that you like. If you get something off your chest, no issues whatsoever. Number is 0121 262 3555. That's 0121 262 3555. And Baisab, some closing remarks, just in summary. Anybody who's got a concern, issue, they don't want to speak out, they're crying to speak out, what are the first things they should do?
Well, I think, you know, if you don't trust anyone within the family, then ideally go and see your local GP. You know, that's where the journey starts. Or ring the Birmingham helpline, and or try and get in touch with us, Alafia Mental Health and Wellbeing Services, on Facebook. Message us, and we will support and direct you accordingly.
Ibrar, Uddin, thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming on this evening, and inshallah we'll keep in touch and we'll cover this in depth at another occasion. Thank you very much. Listeners, that's the end of my first session of program. Apologies, I've overrun my normal time. I've done it deliberately because this was a very important subject, but don't worry, we will have part 2 of my program, and we'll cover that in a minute. So if you give me 2 minutes and we'll go back out live again.